Hey, what if your customers aren't buying what you think you're selling? Hello, my friend. Today, I want to speak directly to you, the business owner who loves God, works hard, and yet wonders why the business still feels heavy. Today we're talking about product strategy and design, not marketing, not sales tricks, but the very thing your business promises. And at the end of this teaching, I will answer this question that we began with. What if your customers aren't buying what you think you're selling? God is a God of design and purpose. And we begin, as always, with scripture. So Genesis tells us that God created with order, intention, and delight. And creation was not rushed, it wasn't accidental, it was designed. And when God finished, he said it was good. You know what? This matters for your business because when you design what you offer, you s- you step outside of God's pattern when you don't design with clarity. Because God is not a God of confusion, but a God of peace. First Corinthians 14, verse 33. So, what is product strategy? So, there's a teaching about this in the E-Myth, in the E-Myth Mastery program, and I think there may be a book out that talks a bit about this. Your product may not be what you think it is, and you need to investigate this to figure that out. Most business owners think they know what their product is. They think it's the thing that they make, the service that they perform, the expertise that they provide, but in scripture and wise business thinking actually is going to tell you something a little bit different. Your product really is the value that you add for your customer or your client. It's the promise that you keep. It's the experience that your customer walks away with. When you purchase something yourself, think about this. Think about being the customer yourself and you expect something. And when you go and become the customer of a business, is that expectation met? Did you get what you expected when you made that purchase? And if not, how did you respond to that? There are lots of experiences that we can all talk about. One time I had an internet service installed in my house, and it was fiber optics, a new fiber optics in the area. And then once they got it installed, then the first day it was great. I had this really fast internet speed. This is exactly what I needed because I deal so much with large files and, uploading and downloading. And when I went to go to the internet the next day, and this was a work day, I got nothing at all. Now, I hadn't disconnected my previous slower internet yet because I wanted to make sure that everything was going to go right. And I needed, since I work from home, I needed to make sure that this internet worked properly. If it didn't, I would be up a creek because I wouldn't have access to the internet and I needed that to do my work. And lo and behold, the next day, the fiber optic network wasn't available to me. I couldn't figure out why. And I called the internet company to figure out what was going on, and everything was working on their end and all of that. We couldn't figure out what the problem was. And we finally figured out that what happened was that when they lay the fiber optics, they lay it inside the ground, and they just lay the cable under there. They split it open with the ground open, and then they bury the cable in there and then close it back up and do that through the back. They did that through the backyard, and then it had to go up to the side of the house. And what happened was we had some mole or something dig in the ground and bite through the cable. And the thought had entered my mind, you mean they bury the cable and it's that vulnerable? Here in Texas, we have critters that dig into the ground. Well, obviously, that puts it at a risk, right? Well, here I am paying for this internet. The second day that I have it, it's completely useless. And it took me a week to get somebody out here to fix that. Fortunately, I had backup internet. Well, you know what I've done since then? I always have backup, and it's not through the same company. It's through a different company, and it's through a different delivery method, so that I always have internet. Now, this is an experience that I'm sharing about. This is an experience that I got with a company, and I asked them, why don't you bury it with some kind of, pipe or something that protects it from the elements? It's just too expensive for them to do that. So they don't. And what happened in my case, I almost canceled the service because it was like, is this what I'm going to expect? I'm going to have critters biting through my cable? Well, it was the only fiber optics service that I had available, so I stuck with it. But you can see, as the business owner, you need to listen to your customer's experience and hopefully be able to find a way to resolve what goes wrong with your customer's experience. When you opened your doors for your business, you made promises. You made a lot of them. And your sign for your business makes a promise. Your website makes a promise. Your marketing makes a promise. And scripture agrees. When you make a vow, do not delay to fulfill it. That's in Ecclesiastes 5, verse 4. Your product is the primary way that you keep or break that promise. So you need a product strategy, and it starts with the customer. A product strategy is not with your preferences and what you want. It's not based on what your skills are and limited to that. It's not with what you enjoy doing, but with what the customer values. So you need to find a way that you can deliver with what you have and the value that you have the ability to deliver, and somehow intersect that with what the customer values. If you're really good at something and nobody buys that, then you're not going to have a business. You have to sell what the customer values. Philippians 2, verse 4 tells us, look not only to your own interests, but also to the interests of others. And product strategy is an act of biblical humility. So let's talk a little bit more about that. There are 6 product attributes, what customers actually buy, according to what the E-Myth teaches. And customers perceive your product through these attributes. One is functionality. What does it actually do for your customer? The second is sensory impact. How does it look, feel, sound, or seem to the customer? How do they perceive it that way? If it stinks like high heaven, they're probably going to be offended by it, right? So you need to make sure that sensory impact is pleasurable for them. There's also unconscious associations. What emotions does it trigger in your customer? And this is something that your customer may not even be able to express to you, but it's something that triggers an experience that they've had in the past that they associate with whatever your product is triggering in their mind. And hopefully, you want this unconscious association to be positive. So you need to know the psychology of your target market to understand what those are going to be. And you have to pay attention to how they respond. There's also conscious mind conclusions that they make, things that they're conscious about. Does this make sense logically? They think about it and they make a decision. There's the price versus value. They ask themselves, is this worth what they're charging for it? And that question is based on what they value. How much do they value what you're offering and what you're what you're charging? If you're charging more than how they value it, they're not going to buy it. If you're charging less, then they feel like they're getting more than they're paying for. And that's what you want them to feel like. Access and convenience. Is it easy for them to get it and to use it? So sometimes these technology products are really not good in this sense. It's easy. If it may be easy to get, yeah, you can download it on your computer and then you got it. And then you just run the installation and it runs. But then you've got all these features. How easy is it to use? There's lots of software out there where they make promises about how much better this is going to make your business if you use this software. And then you go to use it and you find there are all kinds of technical challenges you've got to get through to actually get this to do what you want it to do. And so you've got this learning curve you've got to overcome. That's no fun. And that can make your experience from a customer standpoint less than stellar. As a business owner, when you're selling something, you need to make sure you make it as easy as possible to use it, because until they use it, they're not going to recognize the value that they get from it. This explains why good people struggle in business. They focus on what they deliver and not how it's received. You've got to understand how it's received, which is why you got to listen to the customers. So a product failure is usually a clarity problem. Jesus spoke plainly. He talked about seeds, fields, bread, water. Clarity is not childish. It's being kind to your customer. Your product must be reviewed regularly against what customers really want, not what you assume that they want. So surveying your customers on a regular basis is really important. And being able to interpret what they're telling you. You've got to listen to their stories. You've got to listen to what they're trying to tell you. And the plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, as in Proverbs 21, verse 5. So stay with me, because in just a few minutes, I'm going to show you how and why faithful business owners burn out, and how product design is often the missing piece. So, what is the feasible ideal product? One of the most important ideas is what's called the feasible ideal. This isn't a fantasy. This is not perfection. This is the best possible product that you can reasonably offer that serves the customer well, that it keeps your promise and is sustainable for your business. Jesus taught this principle in Luke 14 when he said, "Which of you, wanting to build a tower, does not first sit down and count the cost? Wise design comes before execution." So take the time. Now, we've talked in previous episodes here about just selling what you have and delivering it well and trying to have a good customer experience in your delivery. But we're stepping back a minute here and we're saying, okay, now let's take a look at what you're actually delivering. Is the product good? Is that hurting the experience? So we want to make sure the product is what our customers are actually buying. And if we do that, the customer will be happier. They'll have a better experience and we'll keep them around longer. The delivery will go better because they'll be better because we did take time to improve the design of our product or service. So when I talk about a product, it could be a service because then your service is the product. And you may not put it in the mail to deliver it or put it on a truck to deliver it because it's a service. The delivery is in doing the service for the customer. So there's still a delivery there. And the product is the service itself. And so the service needs to have these attributes that are going to improve the customer experience and give them what they bought in their mind. You've got to evaluate your product objectively, and you got to be humble. There are things about your product that you may just love that your customers don't like and don't see any value. That's hard to take, but because you can't let pride cause you to try to defend what exists. Proverbs 27:23 says, be diligent to know the condition of your flocks. So your product must be examined. And you want to do this on a regular basis because customer needs might change. So a product is more than the goods or the services that you're delivering to them, that you're giving them. Sometimes a product is the thing that you sell, and sometimes a product is the business itself. That means your process is part of the product. Your communication is part of the product. Your reliability is part of the product. Colossians 3 verse 23 applies here too. So if this teaching is opening your eyes, I want to invite you to join our Psalm Tree CEO Mastery community. This is where Christian business owners can get together and learn how to build businesses that honor God and work in the real world. So you don't have to carry this alone. And we have so many resources inside this community. As I am building more and more courses that can train you how to act as the CEO of your business and do things like we're talking about right now with build a product strategy, a strategy that works, a strategy that creates a product or service that your customer values highly so that you can operate a profitable business by being able to have a product that people really want. And so you want to build a business that honors God and works in the real world. And in this community, I'm doing everything I can to build a community where we can get all the resources that we need. And I'm in there interacting as well. And you can ask me questions in there. So, what about why good products reduce sales pressure? When your product matches the customer's needs, it keeps its promise. It delivers real value. Sales become service, not persuasion. You're just helping people with whatever it is that they have that's motivating them to purchase this product. It's a problem that they may be trying to solve, a need that they're meeting. And this product meets that need. And when it does, it delivers value. And you're helping that person. And that's what you want to do. You want to help people, right? So you want a product that's going to actually deliver to do that. Scripture says, the blessing of the Lord makes rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. It's in Proverbs 10, verse 22. So what about this question that we asked in the beginning here? Let's return to that. What if your customers aren't buying what you think you're selling? Friend, if they are buying, how are you making them feel? How easy you make things? How easy are you making things for them? How clearly do you solve their problem? These are the things that make up the product strategy. If you want to go deeper into the how, the systems design for your products, the design of the product, and the execution of that, I invite you to join my school community, PsalmTreeCEOmastery.com. That's PSALMTREE, CEOmastery.com. And this is where we build businesses that are biblically grounded, strategically designed, and built to last. So remember this, God is not only concerned with your heart, He's concerned with how you build what you offer. I hope to see you in the community.